everyone, welcome to another episode of Reaper Golf Videos, aka the Century Countess. This is Reaper here, and today is another episode of the birthday dressmaking project. As you can see, it's coming a long way. So let me tell you what we have done off camera. And we basically did the assembly of the bodice. It's semi-done. There's still some raw edging that we need to set up, but that will be when the closures happen. Now, a little bit about the skirt. We put the skirt panels together, and let me just tell you, I am glad we salvaged all the skirt pieces because we saved the extra. Because here's what happened. When we were ironing the skirt pieces for the second dress, most of the pieces from the second dress were unfortunately not usable. And what I mean by that is there must have been some sort of oil substance poured that got onto the used dress, which did not manifest until after we ironed it. So now we have like this oily wet stain looking thing. I looked it up to see, can it be washed? And unfortunately, it cannot. It's like literally some sort of oily substance. The only way to fix it is literally by basically dunking it into the similar substance and then running an iron through it so it blends, basically, for lack of a better word. And so basically, whatever it is, it kind of dyed the fabric a tint darker, and it literally looks like somebody poured water on it. And I thought maybe we could try to salvage it, so we couldn't. So we did have to use skirt panels that had a slight tear, so we had to mend those pieces. And there was a third panel that also had a similar staining bit, which was on the bodice. So luckily we had to somehow manage to cut the pattern out, trace the pattern out without getting near that stain. Otherwise it would have been on the bodice. So luckily we were able to bypass that other panel that we used as a bodice piece. We had no choice but to use that as a bodice piece, and we managed to bypass that stained area easily. And we still kept the pieces because we are going to be using a small iron that was gifted for our birthday by Star Raven Gothic Eternity. Thank you again, Star Raven, for a smaller project which will be involved with the bodice later on, but not in this episode. This episode will be focusing on the skirt. Let's see, what else do I have to explain? We will have to be rehemming the bottom of the skirt because it's a little too long now. And we will be doing that. That will be an off-camera thing. But the main thing is basically we are going to gather the skirt today, because gathering the skirt today and lining it up where it needs to be will help us with how much hemming needs to be done. Because sometimes once you've gathered and hemmed a skirt, the hem line changes. So it may be too long now, but when we fully attach the skirt to the bodice, it may change. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're at the back part of the dress. This is where we're going to begin. We are literally going to gather this bit here, from here to here. We did a little bit of off-camera tinkering to try to make sure that these are as even as possible, these join pieces here, as best as possible, hopefully. Because it all depends. It all depends on evenness and everything we want. Because when we got the first two dresses, the used one and the first one was a rush job. Obviously, it was not well made. It looked like it was made in a rush. The second dress was used, and while it was in better condition, better made quality, it was unfortunately, like I said, filthy. but there were some areas that weren't aligned when we started to disassemble it. So we got to make sure that those areas are correct in order for it to look a little bit better than how it looked. So let's get started. So we're just going to gather it. We're going to go up as close to the edge as possible. And we're going to try to literally just try to even, try to make sure it's an all even line. And gather it when it gets to the join. We may also have to start gathering as we get close in case we run out of slack, which is why this needle thread is quite long. Getting to the joint. Well, the join piece, I mean. Now what we're going to do is we're going to gather it as close as we can. Alright, and now we're just going to even the gathering. And then with a pin, we're going to pin it. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to knot. We're not attaching it to the bodice, we're just knotting it at the skirt. So the gathering where we have it stays where it is. All right. And then we have a little bit of length just in case. Now, the next step is we're going to go over where we had gathered, where we had pieced the gather pieces. And just basically lock them in place. And of course this dress arm is going to get in our way. One sec, you guys. Alright, we're back. We got the arm out of our way, so we're just like literally going through and then going over it again where we start, and then we just continue and repeat. This literally locks the pleats in place. Now another thing you can do is take some bias tape. Like what we could do is with the healthy strips of the fabric that we cannot use due to the grease, we can make a rectangular ribbon, just a homemade raw edge ribbon. Tuck that, tuck one raw end inwards and then flip it over and then just stitch it and then just use that as a type of bias tape and seal it that way. But this is another method that I don't normally do, I will be honest. But for those of you who just, who are, wanting to do pleats, but you're worried that the pleats will come out after you've spent like maybe a good few minutes, because it takes a good few minutes to get some nice pleats if you don't gather them. But even then, when you gather them, you still gotta play with them. just bypass that one and go where we had knotted it off earlier and knot it off again. And then with the excess ribbon the excess thread, I mean, you just knot it. There. Now we have pleats that are going to stay in place. Now we can continue. Hold on a sec, you guys. Music is starting to play. I don't want it to get demonetized. So let me pause this real quick. Okay, we're back. That was one hell of a time listening to, I don't know what it was that I was listening to, but it was getting louder and I knew it was going to pick up, so I had to pause. And it's been maybe about 15 minutes. So we just, we took we got some tea. We re-threaded our thread because I was worried that would have been too short. We still had the salvage thread for probably a smaller bit of the stitching. So let's get back to it. So just like last time, we're just going to find where we had left off and just continue. And this time we may have to use more pins. Because what we have to do now is, because with round gowns, they have like this kind of curvature, as you can see here. So we have to kind of follow that curvature. We can't just, do it like that. It would not be accurate and it would make the dress too high. So we have to, follow the directions of making these dresses. Now we're at the crossroads. Now we just need to gather and arrange. So we're just going to, what we're going to do is we're just going to gather it as much as we can. And then just raise it where it needs to be. We got another pin there. Alright. Now comes the fun part. We will have to fold inwards. just as I figured. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. So I'll be back with the next step very shortly. I have to just prepare it. Okay. So the next thing I'm doing, I'm just removing a pin and then just carefully folding the section over and then holding it in place with my thumb and then just running the thread through. And then this is just a temporary pin stitch. We'll run it through by machine later, which will also be off camera. Sometimes you just have to kind of go under just to see what the hell's going on. So we're going to lift the skirt. And remove the pins. And then bring the skirt where it needs to be. Another pin. Let's bring that there. Oh, let's move these pins. Those over there. Now, then bring one pin back and pin it where we need to. Okay. Now we're going to get the spare thread that we did not finish using when we were gathering, and we're going to use that to for the slack to finish off this specific side of the skirt. Remove the pin. go wrong. Alright. Let's pull this skirt back. We have the beginnings of the back of our round dress. So I'm going to do this side off camera and we shall be back. And we're back. So the next step after we've done the back, we basically go to the front side, and what we want to do is we want to take the ends of the bodice, fold them inwards, and then pin them to the skirt, of course. And now we're just running this thread through. As you can see, one sec, I apologize if this is not a good view. I did take a little bit of a long break, you guys. Let's just say the music started up again and it lasted for about an hour. And it's almost midnight, you guys. Isn't that crazy? It's like people just, I don't get it. It's not even, I will admit it's not even Friday, so it's like people are trying to sleep. You know, it's the last day, it's the last work day of the week for those who do not work weekends. Long story short, you guys, I'll be glad when I get out of here. I just literally, it looks like the place where I'm moving to is going to be quiet, so. And it's a much taller building than this one, so I'm hoping I get to the tallest floor. So if there is crazy activity outside, I'm not going to hear it. We're also we're not using this thread anymore. This thread was for invisible stuff, but it is a shade darker. It is pink, but it is a shade darker. There are some areas where it is going to be exposed, unfortunately, but we'll be doing like this part will be seam ripping off because we've already done the stitching in the back. This part will not be visible. We're going to be tucking that in when we get the hooks and eyelet tape tomorrow. And then we're going to put the trim over that so no one's not going to see it. So yeah, we're not too worried. This part right here will probably be covered with some black trim that we're going to be getting next very soon. So the next bit will be sewing on some more trim, but first I just want to get as much of this done. And we're back. We have just finished attaching the skirt to the bodice. I thought I'd do a little teaser and just slip the sleeves on. They're not yet attached to the bodice. We're not going to attach them just yet. But I just thought I'd just slip them on to kind of so you guys kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like when it's all put together. You know what I mean? Yes, so that's it, and it's just about its full glory. And then, hold on. As you saw in an earlier video, we're going to have these, and of course they're going to be kind of, they're going to be pleated, of course. And all the way up to there, all the way, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But in little pleats, let me kind of give you an idea. It's just going to be similar pleating like it was before. That's why we did not iron it, because we had the guidelines to the pleats. But it's going to be something kind of like, let me see if I can get it all set up for you guys. Something kind of like, I can't do it, but it's just, I can do one pleat for you, and it's something like that, and it's, for now I can't do it. Okay, it's going to be something like that, then there's going to be a slight gap, and then another, hold on, maybe I can do it now, another pleat like that. So it's just going to be a pleat, and then there's going to be a gap, and then another pleat. So something like that, and it's going to go all around the front of this, around the collar, etc., etc. So yeah, and then we're going to add black flowery bows here, and then just trail them down the center. Maybe a few on this part, and definitely a few along this sleeve area, the sleeve area. And then here's our petticoat, the front piece of our petticoat. I've already added the second tier, and that will just, when we get the back piece, it's going to go under here, just like that. So yeah, we are just about done. If I can get this up there. Now let's just slide her back. Okay. Now you can kind of get an idea of how she looks. We are going to kind of adjust the pocket hoops. We're going to adjust the pocket hoops. You already replaced the good news is we didn't have to do any cutting. We just, the little string bits was went through a loophole. We just removed them from the little loop and replaced it with longer ribbon and stronger ribbon, because it was that cheap flimsy ribbon. So we're probably going to kind of readjust the pocket hoops and see if maybe we can do something a little different. But it may press out a little bit further, because the third tier of the pocket hoops, there's nothing in between it. There's no legs or anything, so it's kind of pushing in. But if we were to push it out, it would about that. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it would flare out a little bit more. So yeah. So that's it for the video. Please like, subscribe, hit that bell for more, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.